For over a century, the name Murdaugh carried weight in the low country of South Carolina. In the quiet stretch of land that bridges river swamps and coastal plains, few names open more doors, or close them, than theirs. The family wasn't just known, they were the law. From courtrooms to backrooms, from whispered settlements to public trials, the Murdaughs had built an empire of influence that seemed untouchable. The dynasty began in the early 1900s, when Randolph Murdaugh Sr. founded a small legal practice in Hampton County. It didn't take long before it became a family operation. 3 generations of Murdaugh men served as solicitors, roughly the equivalent of district attorneys, covering 5 counties known collectively as the 14th Circuit. They prosecuted criminals by day and represented victims by night, balancing the scales of justice in ways that often blur where authority ended and family interest began. By the time Alex Murdaugh took the stage, the family's legacy was already cemented into the culture of the region. The Murdaugh name was printed on courthouse plaques, whispered in conversations at country clubs, and stitched into the very fabric of South Carolina's legal world. Alex inherited not only privilege but power, the kind that comes with knowing nearly every law enforcement officer, judge, and lawyer across counties. Outwardly, Alex lived the life expected of a Southern gentleman of means. He worked for a family firm, Peters, Murdaugh, Parker, Elchroth, and Dietrich, PMPD, handling personal injury and wrongful death cases. He married Margaret Maggie Branstetter, a woman described by friends as gracious, kind, and deeply loyal. Together they had 2 sons, Buster and Paul, and they appeared to embody the classic image of a close, respected family. But beneath the surface of that polished image, cracks were beginning to form. Those who knew Alex will describe a man under pressure, a father torn between legacy and loss, a lawyer battling financial instability, and an individual with deepening personal demons. His youngest son, Paul, was outgoing and charismatic, but also reckless. Friends remember him as someone who loved the water, parties, and the thrill of attention. Yet his life would become entangled in a tragedy that exposed the family's privilege in a devastating light. In February 2019, a boating accident shook the community. Paul had been driving a boat owned by his father when it crashed near Paris Island, killing 19-year-old Mallory Beach, a friend from the same social circle. Witnesses claimed Paul had been intoxicated, and the case instantly ignited anger across South Carolina. Questions about accountability, privilege, and the reach of the Murdaugh influence filled the air. For the first time in a century, the Murdaugh name wasn't just whispered with respect. It was spoken with suspicion. As legal battles unfolded, the family seemed determined to protect Paul. Investigations revealed inconsistencies in how law enforcement handled evidence that night, raising eyebrows about whether the family's power had once again shifted the scales of justice. For Maggie, the tragedy weighed heavily. For Alex, it was more than just a family scandal. It was a threat to everything his forefathers had built. Behind the scenes, the financial structure that sustained Alex's lifestyle was beginning to collapse. He had secretly borrowed millions against his future case settlements, used the firm's accounts for personal gain, and misappropriated client funds to cover mounting debts. Still, he maintained appearances, arriving at the courthouse with the same confident stride, shaking hands with colleagues, playing the part of the respected attorney. The illusion of success persisted, but the walls were closing in. In early 2021, tension inside the family home grew. Paul was still awaiting trial for the boating case, and public scrutiny was relentless. Maggie, according to friends, seemed anxious and distant. Some close to her said she had confided concerns about Alex's behavior, though details remained vague. The once stable family dynamic was cracking under the weight of secrets. Then came June 7th, 2021, a date that would change everything. That evening, Alex called 911, his voice trembling as he reported finding his wife and son shot dead on the family's sprawling hunting property in Culleton County, known as Moselle. His words echoed through the emergency line, sending shockwaves across the state. A family so powerful, so untouchable, had become the center of a gruesome murder scene. At first, sympathy poured in. Local papers described the killings as unimaginable, but almost immediately, whispers began. People wonder how such a tragedy could unfold in a family known for its deep ties to law enforcement. Investigators, aware of the Murdaugh reputation, began piecing together the final moments before Maggie and Paul were killed. To many in the community, it felt like the end of an era. The Murdaughs, once the embodiment of prestige and influence, were now surrounded by crime scene tape. In the days that followed, as helicopters hovered over the Moselle property and national media arrived in droves, one question echoed louder than any other. How did it come to this? The answer would unravel over months of investigation and courtroom revelations, exposing lies, theft, and manipulation on a scale that no one could have predicted. What began as a story of grief will become one of deception and the fall of a dynasty that had ruled unchallenged for generations. By the time the truth began to surface, the once powerful Murdaugh family name would stand not for justice, but for betrayal, greed, and murder. And it all began with the legacy Alex Murdaugh inherited, one built on power, influence, and illusion of control. It was a humid Monday night, June 7th, 2021. The kind of night when the low-country air feels heavy and silence carries more than sound. At 10:06 p.m., Alex Murdaugh dialed 911. His voice was panicked, trembling. He told dispatchers he had just returned home to find his wife Maggie and son Paul shot dead near the kennels on their property. Police arrived at Moselle, a 1,700-acre estate stretching across Culloden and Hampton counties. Under floodlights, they found a scene that would haunt even seasoned investigators. Paul's body was near the feed room. Maggie's was a short distance away. Both had been killed with different firearms. Paul by a shotgun, Maggie by a rifle. At first, it seemed like a targeted killing. No signs of forced entry. No robbery. No missing items. And no immediate suspects. Alex told police he had been visiting his mother in another town. He claimed to have returned home to discover the unimaginable. But from that moment, investigators began quietly testing every detail of his story. The Murdaugh family name loomed large over the investigation. Deputies, prosecutors, and detectives all knew the reputation. This wasn't just any homicide. It was a political and social earthquake. For the first 48 hours, rumors spiraled. Some speculated the murders were a retaliation connected to Paul's upcoming boat crash trial. Others thought it might be connected to Alex's powerful legal connections, or hidden enemies from his law practice. But as forensic teams combed through evidence, inconsistencies began to surface. Phone records, timelines, and gun residue didn't align perfectly with Alex's account. Still, publicly, investigators said little. The case was too sensitive, the suspect too influential. Behind closed doors, the state law enforcement division, SLED, began quietly unraveling what would soon become one of the most shocking criminal sagas in American history. The family appeared shattered. Mourners filled the pews during Maggie and Paul's funeral, while Alex stood in front, weeping and shaking hands. The image was one of grief, but investigators saw something else: calculated composure. Weeks passed with no arrests. The public began to wonder if the killer would ever be caught. News networks dissected every new rumor. The Murdaugh story had gone national, and people were captivated. Then, just when things seemed to calm, the story exploded again. On September 4th, 2021, barely 3 months after the murders, Alex called 911 again. This time, he claimed he'd been shot in the head while changing a tire on a rural road. He survived, with only a superficial wound. But the truth behind that incident was stranger than fiction. Investigators discovered that Alex had hired a man to shoot him, so his surviving son, Buster, could collect a $10 million life insurance policy. The revelation shattered any remaining illusion of innocence. It wasn't just a case about a family tragedy anymore. It was about lies, money, and desperation. The same name that once symbolized power in South Carolina was now synonymous with scandal and deceit. And beneath it all, the question remained: if Alex could fake his own shooting, what else was he capable of? By the fall of 2021, investigators had begun to untangle the secrets Alex Murdaugh tried to bury. What started as a double homicide investigation was now exposing decades of deception, financial crimes, cover-ups, and a family legacy collapsing under its own weight. SLED agents traced Alex's every move on the night of June 7th. His alibi unraveled piece by piece. He had claimed he wasn't near the dog kennels when Maggie and Paul were killed. But digital forensics told a different story. At 8:44 p.m., Paul had recorded a video on his phone showing a friend's dog in the kennels. In the background, clear as day, was Alex Murdaugh's voice. That clip became the case's most important evidence. Proof he had been at the scene minutes before the murders. Investigators also recovered data from Alex's Chevrolet Suburban and cell phone. GPS logs showed him driving to his mother's home at exactly 9:06 p.m., right after the estimated time of the killings. He stayed for just 20 minutes, enough to establish a shaky alibi. Then came the discovery of gunshot residue on a blue raincoat found at his mother's house. Tests revealed it had traces of gunfire particles, consistent with weapons used in the murders. SLED built its case quietly, piece by piece. Behind the scenes, they were also uncovering financial crimes that stretched back years. Alex had stolen millions from clients, including money meant for the sons of Gloria Satterfield, the family's longtime housekeeper who died in a mysterious fall at Moselle in 2018. He'd also embezzled settlement funds from accident victims, siphoning them through fake accounts. When confronted by his law firm in September 2021, Alex abruptly resigned. The same weekend, he staged a roadside shooting, a desperate attempt to look like a victim. The illusion was breaking apart. Public sympathy turned to outrage. The Murdaugh name, once protected by status and connection, now symbolized corruption and greed. Reporters dug into old cases linked to the family, like the 2015 death of teenager Stephen Smith and the 2019 boat crash that killed Mallory Beach. Each incident painted a clearer picture. The Murdaughs had lived under a shield of privilege, bending rules others couldn't. By July 2022, SLED had enough to move forward. Alex Murdaugh was indicted on 2 counts of murder and multiple weapons charges. Prosecutors allege he killed his wife and son to distract from his financial collapse and gain sympathy before his crimes were exposed. The evidence was damning. The kennel video, GPS data, and years of lies. But Alex denied everything. He admitted to stealing money, lying police, and staging a roadside shooting, but insisted he never hurt Maggie or Paul. His defense called him a flawed man, not a killer. Still, investigators believed otherwise. The pieces fit too perfectly. His debts were suffocating him. His firm was closing in. Maggie was preparing for divorce. Paul's upcoming trial threatened to reveal everything. For prosecutors, it wasn't just about 2 murders. It was about a man trapped by his own empire, a dynasty that collapsed under its corruption. As the trial date approached, South Carolina braced for a spectacle unlike anything it had seen in generations. The Murdaugh family, once the law in the Lowcountry, was now on the other side of it. January 2023. The Culleton County Courthouse became the center of America's attention. Reporters, spectators, and legal experts filled every seat, waiting to witness the fall of a man whose family had once ruled South Carolina's Lowcountry. Alex Murdaugh, dressed in a dark suit, entered the courtroom facing 2 counts of murder. For decades, the Murdaughs had controlled the justice system here. Now, one of their own was about to be judged by it. Prosecutor Creighton Waters laid out the state's theory with precision. Alex Murdaugh was a man cornered by financial ruin, drug addiction, and exposure. His solution, Waters argued, was unthinkable: to kill his wife and son in a twisted attempt to buy time and sympathy. The prosecution promised to show a timeline built entirely on data, deception, and motive. Alex's defense team, led by Dick Harputlian and Jim Griffin, countered fiercely. They painted Alex as a grieving husband and father, the victim of sloppy police work and media hysteria. No murder weapon had ever been found. No blood had been detected on his body or car. The defense argued the state had built its case on assumptions and public outrage, not hard proof. But when testimony began, the state's evidence came alive. Jurors heard the 911 call, Alex's voice trembling with shock. Then they watched a cell phone video from Paul's phone, the video that placed Alex at the kennels minutes before the murders. It was quiet in the courtroom as jurors listened to the unmistakable sound of Alex's voice in the background, destroying his earlier alibi. Witness after witness took the stand. Alex's law partners testified about missing funds. Forensic experts explained the gunshot residue on the blue raincoat. Digital analysts mapped his car's movement that night down to the second. Caretaker Blanca Simpson recalled seeing Alex wearing different clothes after the murders, clothes that were never found again. Then came Alex himself. Against advice, he took the stand in his own defense. He wept, admitted to stealing millions and lie about being at the kennels, but insisted he would never harm his family. The courtroom was silent as he said it. Some jurors looked away. Others stared at him, unreadable. The prosecution seized on his confession to lying. They told jurors that a man who lied about his whereabouts during his wife and son's murder could lie about anything else. The motive, they argued, was clear. His financial empire was collapsing, and the murders were his desperate bid to survive. When closing arguments ended, the jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. On March 2nd, 2023, the verdict was read. Guilty on all counts. Alex Murdaugh showed little emotion. Judge Clifton Newman called the crimes a staggering betrayal. He sentenced Alex to 2 consecutive life sentences without parole. The courtroom fell silent, the legacy of the Murdaugh dynasty ending in disgrace. Outside, cameras flashed as Alex was led away in handcuffs. For the people of South Carolina, it was the end of an era and the start of a reckoning. The powerful had finally been held accountable. But even after the verdict, one truth lingered in the air. The story wasn't over. Appeals were already being planned, and whispers of new investigations hinted that more secrets from a Murdaugh empire were still waiting to surface. 2 years after his conviction, Alex Murdaugh sits behind bars, but his name still echoes the courtrooms of South Carolina. The empire that once symbolized untouchable power had become a symbol of corruption, deceit, and the crumbling illusion of privilege. Following the 2023 verdict, Alex's legal battles multiplied. In late 2024, he pleaded guilty to 22 federal counts of financial fraud, admitting to stealing millions from clients, colleagues, and even the family of his longtime housekeeper, Gloria Satterfield. For those crimes, he received 40 years in federal prison, on top of his 2 life sentences. The walls had finally closed in, but the courtroom drama didn't end there. In 2025, Alex's defense team filed an appeal, alleging that jury tampering by court clerk Becky Hill may have influenced the murder trial's outcome. Hill herself faced scrutiny and charges of misconduct. The South Carolina Supreme Court agreed to review the case, leaving open the faint possibility, however remote, that Murdaugh might see a retrial. For many, it felt like the shadows of influence still hadn't fully lifted from the Murdaugh name. Meanwhile, the financial fallout continued to unfold. Victims of Alex's fraud, including the Satterfield family and the loved ones of Mallory Beach, began to see long overdue restitution. Yet no amount of money could erase the years of grief, the public humiliation, or the betrayal they endured. Buster Murdaugh, the surviving son, withdrew from public life, living quietly as rumors and speculation about his own connection to older cases, like the 2015 death of Stephen Smith, continue to circulate. Investigators reopened that case in 2023, determined to uncover whether it had any true link to the Murdaugh family, or if it was another tragedy tangled in the family's orbit of power. Beyond the courtroom, the Murdaugh story grew into a cultural phenomenon. Netflix, HBO, and Hulu produced documentaries dissecting the family's rise and fall. In 2025, Hulu's Murdaugh, Death in the Family, sparked controversy when Alex publicly condemned it for sensationalized portrayals. Podcasts, books, and YouTube channels analyzed every detail. How a dynasty that once ruled the Lowcountry became a cautionary tale for modern America. But beneath the headlines and documentaries lies a deeper question. How did it all go so wrong? The answer seems rooted in unchecked power and generations of privilege that created a world without boundaries. For decades, the Murdaughs blurred the line between law and influence until even justice itself bent to their will. And when the system finally fought back, it exposed the cost of that corruption. Lives lost, reputations destroyed, and a legacy forever tarnished. Today, the Moselle property stands as a quiet reminder of everything that was lost. Not just the lives of Maggie and Paul, but the illusion of invincibility that had shielded the Murdaugh family for a century. In the end, the Alex Murdaugh case isn't just about one man's fall from grace. It's about what happens when power goes unchecked, and how, even in the darkest corners of privilege, the truth eventually demands to be seen. Thank you for joining us for this investigation. If you found this story compelling, consider subscribing and sharing this video. Together, we can help grow this channel and continue uncovering the real stories that shape our world, one case at a time.